Hello, welcome to the Talking City podcast, coming to you from the Manchester Evening News. My name's Joe Bray, joined by Simon Bajkowski, and bad news, City have lost 2 Premier League titles, according to our old friend Mikel Arteta.
The sad day. Everyone was waiting for the 115 to take City's titles, and then it turns out Mikel Arteta has taken them instead. Very sad. But we don't know what point he was making, do we? He was trying to say, wasn't he, that football is about timing, and it is not about it's about being the best team in the right moment. And he said that his Arsenal team in the previous 2 seasons had more points at this stage of the season, basically, than this Liverpool team have this year. And so he jokingly said, we should have 2 Premier League titles.
What written down it basically says
that's not how it works, Mikel, is it?
We deserve these titles, and
yeah, and I'm of the belief that more than one team can deserve to win, but ultimately only one team wins. And so Arsenal, as good as they were in the last 2 years, were not as good as Manchester City. And that's why they didn't win the title. And
he was talking about timing. Those 2 seasons, they had a very good chance to win it. And let City back into it.
And also, City, where have Arsenal been this year? This could have been their perfect moment, because City have fallen away, Arsenal have fallen away. I know they've had injuries. I don't think they've had a worse injury situation than City. They seem to have the worst injury situation ever. And I don't want to criticise Arteta too much, because I think he's very much like Pep. He's just not quite learned the Pep way of when to say things. I think if Arteta had said this in 2 years or after a 5-0 win, because he came out after the PSG defeat, because we're out of the Champions League, and said, well, we're the better team over 2 legs. We're the best team in the Champions League. You sort of, well, you're not though, mate, because you're out. And it reminded me of when City went out to Real this year, and Pep was asked, does it hurt? And he was like, well, no, not really. It hurt last year because we were the better team, and it hurt in 2022 because we were the better team. It doesn't hurt this year because we were crap. And if Pep had said when they went out in 2022 or 2024, if he rolled up to the Bernabeu and said, you know what, we were the better team. We were brilliant. We absolutely destroyed Real Madrid. It's a travesty we're out. Everyone would have laughed at him. Yeah. Everyone would have pilloried him. But if you look at the expected goals, which not everyone likes, but are pretty important, Arsenal were better than PSG over 2 legs, but PSG were the better team because they went through. So Arteta and Arsenal are just kind of that. They just get more unlikable every week, don't they? Because they say things that don't stack up.
It's like you say, timing. He's talking about timing to win a league, timing to do it. And I think, was it the Palace game when City won? I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, I would not be surprised at all if Pep comes out and hammers his team for something. Because
because they've won.
Because that's what he does.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do it if they'd lost 2-0.
No.
And I think, that's what maybe Arteta has to learn. As it happens, he didn't, but that is the time that Pep normally does come out and say those things.
A better analogy from him before the PSG game would have been, we're not top in the league. Spurs and United are near the bottom of the league, but they can still win a European trophy. We're not top of our league, but we can still win a European trophy. But the sort of, I don't know, the weird, we should have had 2 Premier Leagues.
I wonder if there's a bit of lost in translation as well.
Because, but it also fuels a fan base that needs no fuel, should have no fuel, should be banned from fuel. Because we've had the worst situation since, the Great Depression, and should have had 8 titles before us and all this, and you think, you don't really want to be making so many excuses.
And he's also saying it against Liverpool.
Yeah.
Who have won more points and not won leagues and had better teams.
Yeah.
Those years on the clocks when they were getting 90 odd points and still coming second against City, that is a situation where they deserve a title.
Yeah. And it must be horrible as a coach to have done so well and come up short in that way. It's like the sort of the great tennis rivalries in recent years or whatever, when you've got just outstanding teams or individuals or whatever, and only one of them can win. But don't bang on about how you should have won, kind of thing.
Going to sort of move that on then, because Arsenal lost against Bournemouth last time out. I think after the Wolves game, one of the journalists said to Pep, "Can you finish second?" And Pep sort of dismissed it, and he wanted to be out of there, but he just said,
Yeah.
no chance of thinking about Arsenal, no chance of thinking about second.
Yeah.
And then Arsenal lose, and now there's 3 points in it. So my question is, can City finish second after everything this season? It doesn't feel like right. Doesn't feel like they should.
Yeah.
But they could. And I look at the fixtures.
Yeah.
Might give City hope if that's what they want to aim for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I spoke to a player this week, and I think Arsenal's in the picture. Last weekend was brilliant for City. Like, every result went for them. Newcastle drew at Brighton. Arsenal didn't get the result they wanted. Villa kind of won, but you didn't mind that. Forest got a point. And it just kind of put them in a perfect state for where they want to be. And then this weekend they play Southampton, the worst team in history almost in the Premier League, and Arsenal have got to go to Liverpool and Newcastle, Chelsea.
I'm only looking at the Arsenal fixtures.
Yeah,
at the moment,
I think it's Newcastle, Chelsea on the same day as Liverpool, Arsenal. So City are at present 3 points and 9 goals worse off than Arsenal. So if they can go to Southampton and batter them, say they manage to win 4-0, 5-0, and Arsenal lose by a goal, then that is like level on points and 2 or 3 goals in it. And then Arsenal have Newcastle at home, and then Southampton away, is it? Yeah. So they've got a big chance on the final day. But City, you've got Bournemouth at home, who they tend to do quite well against. Bournemouth are a very good team.
And just beat Arsenal
at
the Emirates.
But it's Kevin De Bruyne's farewell. It will be a few days after the cup final, so City could be kind of riding high if they beat Palace. And I mean, it's Kevin De Bruyne. Like, I don't think he's going to allow Bournemouth to win in his final appearance, or if he's got anything to do with it, he won't. So City's just in a really good spot, and it's also about momentum at this stage of the season and feeling it and feeling that things are going for you. And Arsenal are clearly in a position where they're feeling like things aren't going for them,
and they've now got nothing to play for.
Yeah.
They're not going to finish outside the top 5.
No, but what's worse is they've had second. They're in a bit of a fight with Forest, but they've had second. So they can only lose from here.
Yeah.
Whereas...
I think City can sort of use that.
Gain.
And they've got the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
Which, if they win that, they can go into Bournemouth and Fulham on the last week.
Yeah.
And they've also got the Club World Cup. So they want to sort of keep that momentum going a little bit.
Yeah. If City could finish second and win the FA Cup and say to everyone, this is our terrible season, this is our awful season, like... next year will be better, then it really would worry a lot of people, because there were plenty who said this City team's done, this City squad's done, like, needs rebuilding from the start. And, you've sort of seen already the Arsenal fans on social media who are like, yeah, well, you spent 200 million in January, that's how you're like, right, well, Vita Rice hasn't played, Kusanov hasn't been seen in 6 weeks, Nico Gonzalez has barely played. Like, Marmouche is there, fine, but like,
and also they didn't spend that in the summer.
No,
they spent 30 million.
Yeah. But the revival from City has come from the old guard. That's what it's been built on. Now City are looking ahead for the first time in ages and looking up the table and seeing, could we maybe squeak second? Because they will go level on points with Arsenal on Saturday if they beat Southampton. That's a fact, and that will put pressure on Arsenal. And in the past, when City have subjected Arsenal to pressure, the pressure is kind of told at some point on them. So maybe Arsenal respond from this PSG defeat and go, you know what, we're going to win every single league game remaining. We're going to show what we're made of.
And Liverpool are a little bit unpredictable now. They lost against Chelsea. They've won the title. They've
done
what they need to do.
It is Liverpool at home, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you sort of think maybe, and I think they're lifting the trophy on Sunday.
So they want to go into.
So they will want to win the game and then lift the trophy. So yeah, would you want to be playing Liverpool as one of your 3 final games? No. Would you want it to be at Anfield? Definitely not. So, and then would you want to be playing Newcastle? No, not really. So City have got the better the better running, and you know it's largely irrelevant because the Champions League top 5 finish is the big thing. But catching Arsenal would be very, very sweet for a lot of people.
And like you say,
City.
sort of next season, you could sort of put a bit of a marker down now by telling Arsenal.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's the worst season they've had, and Arsenal have deserved the league, according to the manager.
City have been humbled, haven't they?
Yeah.
And yet could still finish above Arsenal.
Even if they close the gap to the same amount of points, it's it's reminding Arsenal that they're still not better than City.
Yeah, because it really is incredible when you think about it, and it just seemed like Arsenal have dropped a lot of avoidable points, and all they've just become a club that kind of rails against everything that goes against them. And I don't think they've had the best refereeing decisions this season, but a lot of them have been absolutely avoidable. Like Trossard getting sent off at the Etihad, don't boot the ball away when you're on a yellow card. Declan Rice getting sent off before that, don't kick the player or kick the ball away when, like, it's just silly things.
Yeah.
And to sort of hinge a season on, well, we would have won the league if we didn't have that, or if we didn't have Gabriel Jesus out, because none of us thought he was any good, and that's why we were in desperate need of a number 9, despite having this number 9 who we signed for 40 million or whatever. But like, oh, if he had been fit, that would have made the difference. Like, just say you weren't good enough and move on. And I think that is what City are very good at, or have been good at this season. And you know, you listen to Pep and he's like, under no circumstances this season good. It's been
Haaland
terrible.
has come out and said,
yeah,
we've had injuries, we've had a lot of injuries, but
yeah,
he's not been good enough, he says, and he also sort of questioned the hunger.
Yeah.
So it's how you deal with those situations. And
this is a guy who scored 30 goals this season, despite being out for however long he's been out for, saying I've not been good enough. And you think that is the attitude that will win you titles.
Yeah.
But saying, oh, we would have won if not for this that was out of our control is not the way to go.
It's interesting, that hunger comment. They have had all the issues, and maybe we've been looking at it as if they're too old or they're sort of tired or whatever. But has that crossed your mind this season that the hunger's been,
definitely
been there or not been there?
Yeah, I think it. I don't think it's a conscious downing of tools. We are fed up. I think it's, for a long time, every year, it's been like, how on earth are they still so motivated?
Yeah.
And maybe January, February it hit, but it was kind of like last season they did not start the season well. And then Pep put that sign up in the boot room that they saw every day saying no one has ever done 4 in a row yet. And they saw that every day from like October. They saw it every day in training. They're seeing it, and that is motivating them. And this season, what is motivating them? I don't think there is nothing that is motivating them as strongly as what they've had in any other years.
You can't make history, they can extend history. And that is different.
Yeah, like you can't. And this team who, you know, have had so much of their success questioned are so intent on setting records that cannot be beaten and cannot be broken. And 4 in a row is incredible. No team in the history of English football has ever done it. So naturally, these footballers are not natural, and that's why they're doing the job that they are. But they are. It is natural to just give that extra 1%, and I feel like it happened with quite a lot of them at the same time, and injuries kind of didn't help, and it was just too much. And once you're in that,
it all goes into one. I wouldn't say the entire season is down to a
snowballed.
hunger issue.
Yeah.
When you've got all your best players out,
and
you're having to go to Brighton and all these places when you're really playing badly, it's probably natural to think, even when you're used to winning so much, where is a win coming from? And
I do think as well that like those thoughts can set in. I remember Gundogan saying after the Feyenoord draw, when Feyenoord 3-0 up and everything's back to normal, and then they concede those 3 goals and everyone's like, oh God, this is bigger than everything. But I remember Gundogan saying, oh, it feels like this season we've got to take the most difficult path every game. And like, if you feel that, you will maybe go into games feeling, oh, well, this is going to be really difficult and this is going to be really difficult. And even Pep sort of saying, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not. Like, these players all think Pep is amazing. Pep sorts everything out. And if they see Pep saying, I've not been good enough, I'm not good enough, then maybe they think, oh, God, if Pep can't sort it out, then like, what can we do? And those things kind of snowballed and made for a terrible large chunk of the season. But I do think if they finish second and win the FA Cup, or finish third and win the FA Cup, you kind of have to reflect and think, was it a terrible season, or was it a terrible half of a season, or whatever? Because
the form in the last, arguably since Haaland was out, but since that Liverpool defeat, I think they've only lost one, maybe, or are they unbeaten?
They've not lost since Forest.
Forest was the one that they've lost,
at the start of March,
and they've won everyone but the derby, which now looks a little bit more acceptable, even though it's a very flat performance.
Yeah,
they're on that sort of momentum. They've got that momentum and that confidence, and dare I say, the hunger back.
Yeah. There was an insane stat from the Times' statistician, which was like they basically lost 15 out of 31 games in when the clocks went back. And then when the clock's been forward, they've not lost. So, like, they started the season brilliantly, and then they were rubbish, then the clocks went forward. They're like, yeah, we're not losing again.
Sun's out.
Sun's out, yeah, they're happier in the sun. So, I do think the stronger the finish of the season, the more you kind of think, well, I get why Pep will always call it a terrible season, because they were never close. If they finished second this year, they were never close to first. So, like, since November anyway. So
they won't in the future say that they deserved a title from this season.
No. And it will, it's kind of like, we've been first loser kind of thing almost. Like, we've been very good, but they weren't in a title race. They were nowhere near in the Champions League. Like, when Pep was asked, "Are you sorry to be drawn against Real Madrid?" and he was like, "Well, no, because every other team would have given us problems, and they would have done." And for that reason, I can see why Pep will always say it's a terrible season. But with the results and where they will end up, and if they could win a trophy, then I could also see people saying, well, it doesn't look like a terrible season at all from the outside.
I wouldn't say that happens and they win the cup and finish second or third. I wonder if in a couple of years we get those comments of this was one of the better achievements.
Yes. Well,
not necessarily Mourinho saying this was the best season I've ever had.
But we're already starting to, because Pep's already started saying, with our problems, we should have been 13th or 14th, or we should have fallen off more, but we haven't, and that is. And I think that the form and the performances in the last month have really kind of given the manager the confidence to kind of be a bit punchier with how he's seeing things.
Because every time he's asked, would that be a successful season? He says no.
Yeah.
But it's a very, very different situation to Ruben Amorim or Ange Postecoglou saying that with their own European situations and potentially winning a cup.
Yeah.
They're probably more validated to say, no, it's not a successful season.
Yeah. Well, you don't want whether it is a successful season or not to be dependent on 90 minutes, you know, and it's daft with like the Spurs United thing that like they will have their best or worst season in like a decade or in 4 decades or whatever based on do they win this one game.
Yeah. I do not want to be the referee in that game. There's 2 fan bases ready to go over boiling point. Yeah,
well, and because that's it, because it's not like, oh, Champions League or Europa. It's like, no, you've done so poorly over 38 games that it's Champions League or nothing.
Yeah.
It really is all or bust in that sense.
Speaking of the bottom of the league, City are at Southampton.
Yeah.
On Saturday, we're expecting an away win, anything but that would be a massive slip up given Southampton's relegation and how poor they are. Erling Haaland is back and says he's fit and ready. FA Cup final next week. You would expect that he starts, but I was sort of looking at the team and the squad and the form. They've been doing all right without him, but I just feel you've got to play him because of getting him ready for the cup final, because you don't go into a cup final with Erling Haaland on the bench when you could start him.
Yeah, it's a really intriguing one because, like you say, like Bournemouth was the turnaround, and it was after he went off that they went and won the game. And
But I mean, they've not looked incredible in their attack. They've done what they need to do, and the goals have come from across the pitch.
correct, yeah, and they did. Bournemouth were the better team in that first half, but Haaland had several chances that on any other day would have swallowed up, and he did then get the equaliser. So I think Pep said something the other week about Nico O'Reilly putting crosses into the box and anticipating that for Haaland, and also, well, in a sense, sort of, O'Reilly has been getting into the positions that Haaland would have been in. You know, he's been kind of the box crasher that's coming in at the 6-yard box, yeah, and things like that. So it will be interesting to see how they accommodate Haaland. I think with he really wasn't used against Wolves, was he? He was really kind of on the bench and didn't warm up properly and things like that. So I think it will depend. You know, Haaland says he's fit and firing. Do the doctors say that? Because City don't want to sort of bring him back because he feels fit and then lose him again. But he is kind of the best judge of his body. I can see maybe sort of 40 minutes against Southampton, if sort of depends how he's trained this week.
Yeah,
and
I think if he starts, he's coming off directly on 60 minutes.
Yeah,
for example.
Yeah. I suppose it's that. Yeah, do you start him and take him off, or do you bring him off the bench? There's no way he's playing 90. Put it that way. But it's gonna be interesting, and then also the cup final because you know, City beat Palace recently without him. But Oliver Glasner said after the game, he was like, I said to Pep, don't play that way again because we'll figure it out. And you're like, well, maybe. So be careful what you wish for, because if they've got Haaland to deal with, that's a very different situation. But yeah, it is nice that you can talk about sort of the sort of Haaland. I don't know how the team changes with Haaland in a positive way without being like, oh, they've really need early Haaland back because no one has scored in 3 months and no one's done anything without him.
I think it's been interesting seeing like Marmoush has led the line a couple of times. He's been a sort of false nine. He was out on the wing in the last game.
Yeah.
They're trying to move those players around. I think with Haaland, you've got to play him there, and his strengths are so great that his position sorts itself. But without him, you had De Bruyne as the sort of middle player last time, and you can change it around. And if you've got that system, and Marmoush is quite versatile,
yeah,
that's quite useful to have. So I think this period's actually been really useful, and obviously winning games helps.
Yeah, because Marmoush has been moved around a bit, and he will move around if he's playing behind Haaland, because Haaland's going to be up.
I think Marmoush has looked better behind Haaland as well, which is also a useful useful option.
Yeah, I would expect Marmoush to start against Southampton, and then it's just a question of the cup final. But yeah, it's nice to have these kind of selection dilemmas that are actually sort of, oh, they're both really good, rather than nobody being in any kind of form to earn a place.
And a few players coming back from injury as well. I'm not sure Nathan Ake will start or Oscar Bob, but it's good to have them back in training, and almost the whole squad nearly fit.
Because Rodri's training as well, so it's just John Stones, I think, who isn't. So yeah, it's been forever, hasn't it? I don't think there's been a time this season where they just had one out. I mean, obviously, like Rodri's training, but
potentially Real Madrid at home, but then Grealish and
there was
Akanji
2 out for Madrid at home, and then Akanji and Grealish got injured. So yeah, it's very positive. We're very positive today, and have been for the last few weeks, really.
It's one of those games like bottom of the league. You could use it to give Foden a game to get him back into form, or Grealish, or
Gonzalez.
Or do you go strong and pick the 11 that you want for the cup final to give them the momentum?
No, I think we will see. I think Gonzalez will play, and I think we might see a few others like Foden and things like that, just because it's been a while since they started, and they will want to kind of still feel a part of it. And I think City have been there and done it enough times in finals to be able to, work with the players they've got for however many days they need them before the final, and then do it.
I suppose we've got a back four that is generally settled? Maybe Nunes or Lewis the only option. Does Akanji come? He's sort of been playing a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a harder one in the defence to rotate, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe Akanji comes in at right back. But that Diaz and Guardiola partnership is looking very good, and O'Reilly looking very, very good as well. So it's one of those where maybe he comes off as he did at Wolves, where he looks a bit tired, and Lewis plays or something like that. But again, Lewis last time he played was very good, and Nunes has come into some form. So yeah, everyone's ending the season as you would want them to, and sort of pushing to say I should be in that team for the cup final.
It's obviously Guardiola will want that, won't he? Want everyone to be making the case. So as you speak, then I'm thinking that left back issue might be a decision that he's got to make for the cup final, because O'Reilly has the form and he does quite well. He was sort of targeted against Palace in the league fixture.
Yeah.
Do you move Guardiola back over? But then, as you say, he's been doing very well in the centre. Probably too soon for Ake, but you've suddenly got options where you can move them around. And as good as O'Reilly has been, Guardiola's probably your player of the season.
Yeah.
Do you want something a bit more settled and avoid that sort of fast start from Palace again? And as harsh as it would be on O'Reilly, he's probably the one to miss out. But then he's popping up with goals and he's doing really well.
I think I would start O'Reilly, but the only question I would have is that I feel like he's done very well in parts because he's been an unknown factor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the teams they've played have kind of not known what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And the more he does what he does from that position, the more certainly Palace will look at it and will say, right, well, we can stop him this way, that way, and that way. And so whether you think, oh, actually, he's not got that kind of novelty factor anymore, but I'd start him.
I mean, he's two starts at Wembley now. He's pretty unfazed by any occasion.
Yeah, and I feel like he was slightly phased in the Community Shield. I don't think he played amazing, and the game kind of passed him by a bit, but kind of the semi-final was terrific again.
But that was his third or fourth game in defensive midfield in his career.
Yeah.
At Wembley.
Yeah.
His sort of competitive senior debut against United.
Yeah, and also his head was kind of blown a bit, wasn't it? You spoke to him on the tour and he was like, I didn't expect to play it at all. And
and then he's the saviour at defensive mid and now he's a left back.
Whereas, he's kind of had 9-10 months to get used to the idea and to be around the first team and feel like a first team player. And now he's he looks like a completely different kind of player.
I do like those players who themselves don't expect it. And over the course of the season, you think, well, he'll drop out at some point. He's just doing a job for now.
Yeah.
But he stayed there and he's really, really good at what he's doing. And I don't think it can be underestimated that he's doing it in two positions that he's never, ever played in before.
No. But as well, since players started coming back, Pep's had to leave at least someone out of his squad. And it was O'Reilly, in March. And then that game at Bournemouth just changed everything. And Pep joked after that game. He was like, I'll have to start him in the semi now. Nobody in that room thought, well, he will start him in that semi because in the meantime, he'll have started 5 league games and been brilliant in all of them. It was, it's been one of the stories of the season.
And not just for City, for
sort of,
I suppose when you're looking at, I'm not sure he's on maybe sort of young player of the season level, but he's got to be, for the impact he's had.
Yeah. Got to be pushing it for City.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think maybe, you'd probably say Savinho, but O'Reilly has been part of the best part of the season.
Absolutely, and he's helped them in that run that we're talking about without Haaland.
Yeah,
like you say, he's popping up in the box with those goals because he's a number 10, a sort of attacking midfielder.
Yeah,
by trade. So if you told us and him in that game in Orlando when he just scored against Barcelona, which was like the highlight of his career to date.
Yeah.
If you told him that he'd be in serious contention for starting the FA Cup final at left back. I think if I'd sent that piece back to our editor back in the UK, I think it would have been sort of laughed out of. I could have heard the laughs from across the ocean. But no, it's a testament to him that he's done that well. We'll be at Southampton tomorrow. If you're interested, I'm at the under-21 derby in the Premier League 2 playoffs semi-final. So United at home, winner goes through to the final. I was at the training session yesterday, and they all looked up for it. And yeah, we'll have that tonight on Friday night. Southampton tomorrow, down there as usual with the usual coverage, and we'll be back next week to, I assume, talk about a win. But this season continues to surprise us. So yeah, we'll be back next week to talk about what happens at Southampton and look forward to the FA Cup final. So yeah, like, follow, subscribe, leave us a comment as you always do. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.